got the package. You got that done. Read that yet? Marv, the other thing, we can't figure out who's in charge today.
I give you credit there, you know. I think it's a better for you.
I don't know.
Marv, how are you today?
I may end up
Mine's rarely focused.
A little slow, Michael, to you, but.
Oh, okay, I see. There,
Oh, so you
okay.
can stay on with the vaulting thing then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got my youngest is gonna try out this year, so. Yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna be in there. It'll be 9 years.
Yeah. Well, man, you must have also a lot of games around there.
Yes, sir.
Big ones. Big ones, too. Really, really.
Yeah. I remember in Stillwater you did that, that's pretty funny.
I think the biggest probably one we've ever bounced was probably, out at the state fair, he just threw himself on the blanket. Huh? Threw himself on the blanket from the stage. He's a sports announcer, or the columnist for the Star-Tribune.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah.
They're real big.
Yeah.
I took the words right out of my
Just come running
mouth.
off the stage, and at that time, he used to wait 3 doors.
Yeah.
And the thing went down like a rock, and luckily we all pulled enough, and it kept me from hitting the ground. We just scared. The bear, that was it.
You know, when I was sitting there at the parade on Saturday, I think it went on. You guys were? Yeah, well, I didn't see, I mean, we ended up, we were there for almost 3.5 hours. Honest to God, it's just video going and, you know, the internet. Usually, and apparently, they would have here to put it up. You know, it was a little bit, well, I'm looking for it. I just need to look for one whole environmental meeting.
It was a funny recipe, you should have went back.
For the January meeting, the Environmental Natural Commission, and sat up in 2000. The January meeting, right?
Yeah, I can go.
Hey, what is that one?
Break this whole rotten bucket yet?
Hi, Karen.
No, we started a new year or a whole new budget. So last year's was a little tough, and this year's getting off on there.
Now, Lenny, this seems like this is still crooked somehow, so I don't know.
You want to have Sarah format it or put it in the
How's that?
Yeah, something that I
A
can read
little
that
bit
way.
better, okay.
I'll be out of town, otherwise I can go.
Okay. Other than my own letter, I'll be first. And
Jim, are you still in California?
Last night.
5:15.
It still seems a little tippy. Yeah, well, I have to make sure, I have to make sure it's Maybe it's this leg. I don't know which leg it is. I mean,
Oh.
I think that's better.
No, you said, this is John.
No, Ken, architect. Oh. But anyway, he says. This way, because he did not practice. Right. Ken North. Ken North. Yep. So anyway, everything went through the guy that did the revolving. Well, any rate, township was allowed to use the noise. He went down there. Bob, did you know what? How much you did that job?
How's the breakfast, Mr. Anderson? Okay. The meeting, how was the breakfast meeting?
Oh, the meeting was fine.
But the breakfast was better.
Breakfast was great.
You might want some other coffee and tea over here.
Councilmember nephew must have a slower vehicle. We were both at the same meeting. Jim and I and him, and so we all left at the same time. Well, I was coming from 100 miles away, so it was both me.
He's got a dog sled.
Well, your ratings for your panel discussion with the city engineer. You did a great job.
Got a note from
Steve thought.
Yes.
Thanks, Sam. So,
Oh, really?
no, lots of great comments. And, you know, we're gonna try to keep it back at under 500 pages. That was a classic.
Yes, I should do more of those staff type conferences.
Oh, yeah.
Actually know how we're being manipulated.
Yep. I know our secret, we can't be sure. We've been to the airport. They'll join us.
Oh, yes.
Oh, they will.
Wow, you're having us waiting.
There we go. All right.
Mostly he's got a slower car. He has to drive
Slow or what? Hold over by the Maplewood Police.
They'll do that.
They will do that, I hear, yes.
They don't do it to Jim.
Well, welcome everyone to our second annual retreat. This is a continuation of last year's retreat where we set goals, and this is a one-day refresher to reprioritize where we're going, what our priorities will be. As you can see from the agenda, it's going to be very exciting. We're going to be talking first part budgets, where we're at, what it looks like, what can we afford to spend, and what revenue we receive to operate the city of Maplewood. I would like to remind people that we do have some guests here. I'd also remind the guests that any disturbance from the meeting, during the meeting, they will be asked to leave. This is a council retreat for the council and the staff to work together to advance the goals that the council set last year, and to revisit and perhaps do some shifting. So again, Barb Strandell will be our facilitator, and it's my pleasure to introduce his worship. That's what we're
Good morning. I'm excited that we're here having our second retreat. I think most of you are well aware that I think that doing this is extremely important to being able to have the council and the staff on the same page so that we're heading the same direction and that we don't waste time or energy doing things that then you bring to us and then we say, well, we're not interested in that anyway. And so this is really the key, in my opinion, to us having another good year and years into the future in making sure that we all understand what's important to all of us. I would also announce that, and she would not want me doing this, and Kathy doesn't want me doing this, but Marlene Palkovich passed away last night. She was on the Civil Service Commission and had put in many years with the city. And so her input and her thoughts will be greatly missed. And so you can just bear that in mind in your prayers as we move forward. And with that, let's get started.
Okay, thanks, Will. It's quite a year, you know, every city has its own little issues and challenges, and as a new council comes in, there's always bound to be changes. And this year, there's someone here who wasn't here last year. Mark, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time, but I remember you from the other Rostock days. And so welcome. There was a lot of work done a year ago. You set forth some goals, you had some pretty hefty discussions. The goals didn't go unsung like they do in some cities, where you set goals and then you don't look at them again for another year. So everybody's seen this great thing that your marketing department put together. We're going to talk about which of these we're going to reorder this year, and then maybe we'll add one or two to it. But we don't need too many goals, just some really big ideas as we go forward. Sometimes when we get into these discussions about, oh, should we take from Peter to pay Paul? You know, department to department, sometimes it feels like that to us. I just hope it is, in terms of one of the ground rules, that we all have goodwill in our discussions as we advance the mission of the city of Maplewood. And if last year was any testimony to that, then I'm completely confident that we'll do that again this year. We have sometimes we have to generate enthusiasm for the city. I think last year there were a lot of things that happened that you should feel proud of. And before we go further, I'd ask, by the way, city council members to buy in on what they think the biggest accomplishments were, but we're gonna wheel those out this afternoon and talk a little bit more about that. But I'd like to go around each of you here. The one thing that you feel best about that we accomplished, we staff and council accomplished in the city of Maplewood since we were here last time. Just one thing each of you, please. And who wants to start? Jim? One thing.
I think the one thing that, actually it's two things, but they're both.
Already he's breaking it down.
They're both intertwined.
Okay.
I think we made a very good effort in restoring the reputation of Maplewood amongst our colleagues, peers, and along with that, I think the good government aspect applies. We're just at the Municipal Legislative Commission meeting this morning, and half a dozen people came up and said, you know, we see things are really going well in Maplewood. The council's working together. The strife, the animosity is gone, and that you know, we're on the road to restoring our reputation and with that good government. So that's what I'm really thankful for this last year.
Great. Jim, Karen? How about you?
I don't want to take this away from Dewey, but I think we've made great strides in getting a footing on the community center with passing it off to me to do it. Well, it didn't sound good for me, but I think we're moving in a really great direction.
Okay, great. Great. Dewey?
Stability.
Stability. What do you mean by stability?
It was only one word response, that's what you said, but yeah.
What'd you say?
You followed the rule.
That's okay.
I
All right.
think the synergies between
Yeah.
the department heads, and I would also throw in council as well.
Okay, great. Feels good.
Successful global negotiations.
I'm sorry,
Good
successful
labor
what?
negotiations, successful global negotiations with all the labor unions.
Oh, great. Steve?
I would say the council's openness to change.
The council's openness
To listen to change,
To change.
to hear what departments need to do.
okay. Okay, good. Alan?
Barb,
Yes.
I would say sometimes the city can be measured by what it's not involved with, and in my case, I think it's probably the number of lawsuits that have been referred to our insurance provider.
Wow, so a decrease in lawsuits against the city,
I
huh?
would say almost a vacuum.
Really?
It's been, as far as I know, the
Wow.
only one that's been referred has been a kind of a nuisance suit involving basically a traffic stop that didn't go bad for us, but the person stopped was offended by some actions, and I don't think it's going to go very far.
Wow.
As far as I know, that's the only thing that's going on.
That's a very measurable accomplishment too, isn't it? Yes. Okay, Chief?
I think the positive attitude, the positive working relationships between the staff and the council, and just the positive air, if you will, throughout City Hall.
Yeah, last time we talked about, kind of the morale being an obstacle to getting great things done. And so that's a very big positive. Gail?
I wasn't here last year.
It's okay. Well, how long have you worked for the city?
Since May.
Okay, so, well, you were here
This
years
time.
ago, right? Yeah. So what do you see, just as a,
I think,
just what great thing do you think the city's done in the last year that you feel?
from the last time I've been here, the employee morale is a big one.
Okay. Employee morale, all right. That's great. Michael?
Being the city engineer, I have to say something about infrastructure.
All right.
But I'd say the global support for continuing our street reconstruction program, support from the council, and also neighborhood groups. It's interesting, this year we had a big project close to here, and we had one of the residents, actually a few neighbors, they took out a $1,000 ad in the Pioneer Press, just saying how well things went. So.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's a very impressive thing.
I think one of the biggest things for me, and we've been exploring it in IT for a couple of years now, and Dewey's department has explored it also, is the sharing of services between government entities, and just not everybody reinventing the wheel and using resources from everybody.
And we're going to talk more about that this afternoon. It's something near and dear to the heart of this council. And it feeds into the concept of the good government piece, and also the challenges we have with the budget and funding. And so we're going to do some brainstorming on shared services this afternoon. So we're going to keep the bell ringing on that one. Thanks, Michael. Chuck?
I can't believe this one hasn't come up. 1 year ago, we talked about financial reporting, financial information, and the lack of trust in some of the numbers that we got, and that's changed. I mean, we have made huge strides. We changed a little staff, and simply, we got a trumpet that Gail is here, and really people can trust the numbers. They may not look the best, but at least we trust the numbers that we get, and that's really a huge change and a huge step forward in that confidence level in the numbers.
Great, that is a pretty phenomenal thing, both the way it was and the stress it made. Okay, Kathy?
We have made some progress in the whole going green sustainability thing. We have the Sustainable Maplewood program going on for our environmental planner. The council signed on to become a green city. It will start the process.
Wow, yeah.
And there's a staff initiative called the Green Team.
Green Team.
Assessing what can go on, what has gone on in the past and how to improve that.
Yeah, I watched the video stream of the presentation that Sean made at the council meeting in late November, and where you were talking, we were all talking about that. That's a lot of work has been done, and you feel great about that too. Mark, how about you? As kind of an insider-outsider kind of in the last year.
Actually, one of the things I probably enjoyed the most is the fact that, do an example, like when Bob Carter was mayor. Nice guy, really meant well, but unfortunately, sometimes you can be too nice when they let people ramble on, and sometimes council meetings go long, not longer than they should. And it's nice to have, to have a council meeting that's being kept on target, moved right through. So when I first came on the council, Gary Basham was mayor, and he was really good at that, and Will's kind of following in his footsteps now. And that's really refreshing, because even for the people who come to the council meeting, they're not being heard at time slots are registered for, they gotta wait an hour or 2 or 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not good for the city either.
Yeah.
You know, but it makes a big difference when you got a really well-organized, orderly meeting that goes right through.
Yeah. Boy, I can see how that can make a difference, and I've worked with enough city councils, and a couple of them that are, what I think are really pretty effective councils when they're not in session, because the meetings just get so long, and too many people talk about, too many times about the same thing, not too long, and so it kind of shuts a lot of other people out. So that's great, that the meetings, and that was one of the things we talked about last year, was like making the meetings run more efficiently and effectively, and opening up those lines of communication. John, how about you?
Well, so many of the ones that I thought of have already been taken.
You can say them again.
But, well, rather than highlighting those, although I'm inclined to, I'll just add video streaming of meetings. All of our council and commission meetings have been on the internet since the start of last year. I think that it really improves accessibility. And I'm also curious, maybe if anyone has a chance to feedback, besides for residents, I'm wondering how helpful this has been internally for staff when they need to refer to things and now don't have to go request a DVD be made for them and stuff like that. So I'm curious about the efficiency of it.
We'll get to that in just a minute, actually, now that you brought it up. So,
the other really general thing about this topic is that it's an example of our city cooperating with other entities. And the North St. Paul Joint Powers Agreement is a great example of that too. And our recent conversation with Oakdale, I think it's part of us doing more to be working with neighboring entities, and that's something that is.
But that's beginning to
needed, and there'll be more of that.
Starting to take care of and those sharing of services, but also joint powers agreements, et cetera. And last but not least, Will.
I have to comment before I make my comment in that I have heard Marv talk about his thoughts about Mayor Bastian numerous times in the past. And so I actually, in one of those conversations, sat and thought, if I can do well enough, and I also thought Mayor Bastian did a great job, if I can do well enough to get Marv to substitute my name for Mayor Bastian. and so I'm happy to hear that I'm at least working towards that. And so, the first thing I was going to say, the first thing that came to mind was what Jim said, having to do with restoring our reputation. But as I sat here and listened, I've really changed that. And so the one thing that I would point out is there are so many things on the list. Really expected that once we got started, that everybody would kind of be going, oh yeah, that one, and that we'd have 3 or 4 things. But there are so many things that are on the list, showing what a tremendous effort has been made over the last year, and that we have done a lot of different things. So I'm very proud of that.
That's fantastic. And everybody will get a chance this afternoon to see the list that council members and the mayor submitted beforehand as it relates to the goals, because we're going to talk a little bit more about those and expand on those. So how many accomplishments there are? Okay. I think, I know it seems sort of silly, but I think we should give ourselves a round of applause for all the great work we've done. You said back on it in yourselves in this game, right? In this game. And so without further ado, though, I want to take off a little bit on what Council Member Nephew suggested is the video streaming, and just get some feedback from staff on how useful that is, or what works about that and what doesn't work. So let's just open that up. And I'm going to start with you, Michael, because you got that knowing look on your face.
No, we've got a lot of good feedback about it. I mean, we had a lot of requests for DVDs, both from staff and from the public, and we've seen those drop dramatically off. We went through some growing pains initially, and then just with figuring out who was going to be posting the information and where those hours kind of fell. And just towards the end of 2010, we kind of put that off on our videographers, and they now do it, and it's done. And the reason for that is then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And then it's up, virtually right after the meeting. Now, it was brought to my attention before the meeting. We had one of them must have gotten missed. That's now up there and available. I took care of it. Okay. So there's a couple little things that we've worked through, but very good feedback on it. One of the best things about it is that you have the bookmarks.
Yeah.
And we have 4-hour meetings, and even if you got a copy of that DVD, you literally have to forward, or you used to have to forward.
Yes.
I mean, you're, minutes and minutes, hours wasted trying to find your item, and now you can click right to it.
I was so impressed with that, because I went back to look at your meeting when the agenda was on, discussion about the goals. And I couldn't believe it, because I had really bad experiences in some other places having to do just what you said. Oh, let's see if I can remember the number and fast forward it and find it in there. So that is a great service. Anybody else here use those in your department, or anybody from staff?
I can address it too. Michael kind of alluded to our front desk does the majority of the copying of the DVDs, but from a data practice standpoint, we have a lot of data practices requests, and I think the majority of the copies of the DVDs that we do are related to that, and so we have been able to answer a lot of questions without as much staff time by directing them to that. And then also what you said was clicking on the item is really helpful.
Yeah, item 4 sub B sub, Roman numeral 4 again.
Just out of curiosity, what did the software cost to put that together?
It's it's a monthly cost that they run, and it's based on the amount of meetings that we have, and so we have I think 16 meetings a month, on average. So and it runs right about just under $1,000 a month. And so I think it was like $900 and some dollars a month, which is very, very economical considering the other options that were out there.
Oh yeah, you're running CDs all the time.
Oh yeah, and just staff time.
Yeah.
Staff time alone is, you probably see savings right there. And then we get a lot of comments from people outside of our borders who are still have interest in Maplewood, whether it's business or family or just curious about an item that we're discussing, that if you don't have our meetings on Channel 16, you really have no way of doing it remotely. So now they can watch it live also, besides just going on and watching it after that.
Oh, so I could actually watch it.
Correct.
That's good. Where I live, I can't see it exactly.
Millions watch it.
Yeah, that's good. Chuck, you wanted to buy in on the use of the
Well, for me, I use it a couple of ways. One, just like we talked about, people that are calling looking for information. But secondly, I go back, if an item hasn't been in front of council for a while, before I write an agenda report, I'll go back and say, okay, what did we talk about? What was the gist of the thing? What were the council questions to make sure that we're answering them? So it really helps me, instead of the handwritten notes that we make during the meeting, go back and, okay, who verbalized the question? What was the gist? And if it's a specific item that maybe John had, I can call John and say, okay, expand on this. What information are you looking for? So it's really helpful that way, rather than, like I said before, sorry, the DVD took too long. I just relied on my notes. So I think it gives us better information.
How much time is saved on everybody's part?
You didn't enjoy reliving it?
No, I did not. So once is enough.
Yeah. Jim has a comment?
Yeah, I kind of look at it as enhancing the transparency, openness of government. You know, I'm sure that the conspiracy theorists are disappointed that, you know, that option has been taken away from them. The people, if they want to know what's going on publicly, it's at their fingertips 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they can have it directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Yeah, that's that's transparency, isn't it? I mean, because you can go find, and if you want the whole story, go look at the whole thing. Yes, Alan?
Well, to piggyback on that, I've been doing this long enough to remember when a lot of city council meetings weren't even televised. If you wanted to go, you either had to go and be there live, or you had to read about it in the paper the next day or two. And it shows a lot about what you want to do with government by making the information more accessible, so it's important that way.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how many people sit at home and really are interested. You know, I've gotten comments from people that say, not necessarily with this city, but with other cities, you know, oh, I saw what you guys are doing, it's a very good thing, and I think being able to make that not only live for people that can't get out to see it, or for whatever reason don't want to watch it on TV, you know, it's now kind of the medium of choice anyway, you know, computer and streaming. That's a good thing to make it that much more accessible.
Yeah, that's great. So there's transparency, there's accessibility, there's convenience for people who can't come down to City Hall. There's cost saving from staff.
You don't get any sun.
So it's so far, you know, it's hard to figure out what that is. Dewey?
I wanted to just confirm Chuck's thoughts as well. However, I'm not aware of Mr. Matthew ever asking a question in a council meeting. I've never heard it.
I'm normally pretty retiring.
That's a 5 point.
A little bit of a quiet man.
I didn't mean to single you out, John.
Have a little fun.
Oh, that's good. Any other comments about the video streaming? Now, do you anticipate that there's going to be sort of an expansion of this kind of use of technology? Probably not like, you won't have like a webcam over Michael's desk and see what he does every day, but probably maybe for some commission meetings or something.
They have to be on wheels if
We
they
have
have to see what Michael.
You know, for right now, I mean, it's every one of our commissions is available.
Yeah.
And then, but yes, you know, we have it right now where we do very few training sessions for staff. There's everything you could ever want to see a training session on is available on YouTube. And, you know, just some of those other things like that. We're also using the streaming for the Maplewood in Motion. That's
okay. I was wondering about that for the more the marketing.
Or Spotlight on Maplewood, not Maplewood in Motion.
What'd you call it?
Spotlight on Maplewood. And that's, sorry, Spotlight on Maplewood.
Oh, Spotlight on Maplewood, yeah.
So that'll be available, and then we're also working with our other programs, the Your Police Report, and archiving those as well.
Very good, very interesting. That kind of answer your question, John? You got some feedback?
Well, I mean, when I first, you know, looked at streaming and we were talking about it at the Cable Commission, I was very much thinking of it from the open government and the citizen's perspective. But it's occurred to me that a lot of times with technology, what you think is going to be the primary value doesn't necessarily wind up being the really amazing value in it. It may be the thing that catches your interest to begin with. Yeah. And so I was very curious as to how much it really pays for itself in terms of productivity, in staff time, and efficiency and effectiveness. And so I really appreciate the feedback on that, and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, and I would also guess that people who come to the city to make presentations or for other reasons, you know, it helps them to go back and do some research and just go online and take a look. Okay.
Actually, just one more thing, I'm sorry. But the one thing that we did that we never done before this past year is for our budget cycle to have a specific page with links to every meeting that had content regarding the budget.
Yeah.
So anybody who wanted to, they didn't have to search through all the agendas to find it. We kind of had a web page where you can go and see all 15 different meetings and just click right through them and see everything you'd ever want to know about the budget process.
Wow.
And more.
So how do you do that?
We basically it's just that we kind of, when there would be a meeting that had information about the budget, we would just add a link to this page.
Oh,
it's just that they didn't have to go to every single meeting to look for that information.
So it pull up and then you can just
kind
look
of
at all of the topics under budget. Yeah. Wow, that's an impressive feature. So Jim mentioned when he was up here, kind of objectives for the day, we have a theme, as you saw on the agenda, that the theme of will be Maplewood financial sustainability. And we took this concept because there's this, I think from a conceptual standpoint, if you look at where you were a year ago, it was just kind of like, you know, things are reforming in Maplewood. You know, you've got a new council, you've got new leadership on the staff. And so last year was kind of building a foundation to restore credibility within the community, but also within the internal workings and get some of those systems back in place. And now that a lot of that work is done, it's going to continue to be a challenge because there's still, you know, issues out there in terms of the finances, the shortfalls and that type of thing. But now it's kind of like, so we get by a big recession and tough economic times, so that kind of gets into it in the political climate. And so now, I think when I talked with some of the leadership here from the staff, it was kind of like, now, you know, we're kind of positioning ourselves to take it to another level. And that level is really kind of this theme, this financial sustainability. So that feeds into just about everything we're going to talk about today. We've already talked about video streaming, you know, cutting costs by using technology and the residual benefits of that we might not even have anticipated. So recognizing the accomplishments of all of you, defining for financial sustainability and set parameters for staff to use in developing the 2012 budget. And Chuck's going to lead a discussion on that. Affirm and rank goal areas for the next couple of years. Achieve discussion and direction on important issues and topics identified by all of you. And then we're going to do that this afternoon. And produce a clear set of priorities and actions for 2011. So that's kind of where we fall down in terms of how the theme is followed by these objectives. But I do want to quote our mayor when he said in returning one of the surveys, he said what he would really like to see come out of this day, above all and everything else, is that we would come to some consensus on approach to funding for many things that we are deferring. I hope you don't mind me quoting you, but that's a direct quote. And so I think that kind of summarizes that point. And in that spirit, I'd like to once again go around the room. It's what facilitators do, right? And ask each of you, what's the one topic you want to make sure we talk about today? And you can repeat what somebody else said, but I'm going to make sure at the end of this that we have everybody covered. So, Karen, how about if we start with you?
Well, it's
One thing by the end of the day that we discuss.
very broad, but budget.
Budget, okay? Chuck?
Well, I guess it's budget as well, but budgeting with regard to if we're going to, you know, fill positions, and if we're not going to fill positions, how we're going to prioritize that.
Okay. All right, great. Alan?
It seems, you know, that's gonna be probably a theme as we go around the table. I would say budget and prioritizing as it relates to some of the things that are on the capital improvement plan. Just, you know, prioritizing the projects. You know, there's an ever shrinking pot of money. It's what Chuck brings up every week at our staff meetings, and, you know, that's kind of the direction that we're looking for from council.
Great. Yeah.
I'm in the same area.
You're in the same area, huh? Probably both of those, huh? How about you, Michael?
You know, me as well, and with the IT fund in conjunction with the budget and how that plays in.
Okay. Kathy, the one thing you really want to make sure we talk about?
Risk sound like a broken record. It's always easy to make green priorities a Girl Scout project when you're short of money.
Yeah.
And we're beyond the Girl Scout, Boy Scout level. So we have to
Okay.
keep it in our scope of what we can do for the least expenditure, but we can't lose it.
Can't lose it. Good. Will, you want to add to what I already quoted you as saying, or you get another one? Let's put it that way. Huh?
This has hidden meanings, but it was also on my sheet that we need to talk about chickens.
Oh, you know what, I was gonna ask you about that, so, okay.
Are we gonna start paying the chickens?
All right.
chickens.
Great. John?
No chicken.
Here's a variant on the budget topic. We need to talk about referenda. There are a couple of things where we may, the training facility, Fish Creek, stuff like that, where the parks and open space, long-term management plan, et cetera. It dovetails with what Will's quote was about and the budget, but if we are gonna do something where we put things in front of the voters for approval to borrow money, then we need to have a conversation about it, and it's not a real brief thing, and this is a good forum in which that kind of thing needs to be addressed.
Great, we'll spend a lot of time, we'll set the table right after I'm finished here, and then this afternoon we'll start eating the food, eating the chickens. Okay, Mark?
There's a way out.
Mark?
The Park and Rec program, I think we need to, we got O'Neill St. Paul on board, you know, to cooperate. I think we have to still work with the school district in Oakdale. The problem with Maplewood, we're such a spread out city that we touch all these borders. And I think we could have a better Park and Rec program if we get more communities involved in one roof.
So that shared services concept too, will come into that, yeah. Chuck?
Redevelopment priorities.
Okay.
Which one we're gonna pick? We can't do them all.
Your new office is gonna have to wait.
No, it isn't.
Good, we're gonna have that on the,
Yep.
the sheet, the Hillcrest, the other, street. Mike?
I'd say just priorities for continuing infrastructure upgrading.
You're our infrastructure man. Okay,
It's gonna be a
good.
common theme for me.
Yeah, that's good. Who's next, Dave?
I'm going back and forth, either narrowing down or broadening out of
Sure.
what's already been said, but it's the overall prioritization of how we're going to allocate funding within the city, which obviously probably isn't going to grow over the next few years, but yet are we going to continue to provide the services, and as we have to each look at a prioritization in our own departments, we need to look at it in the city overall.
Okay. Departments. Steve.
Fire station needs in the future.
I'd like to have an office with a window.
We could just put you outside.
You already got two offices, why do you need another?
You could just put him outside, but that's
Wow.
the biggest window.
Why don't we discuss that now and say your dreams?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Window, second.
The MCC.
MCC. All right. All right. And Jim?
Well, I think we need to make sure we talk about it, and we also need to answer, are we on the same page?
Are we on the same thing?
As we leave this meeting, have we meshed so that we know exactly which direction we're going? Because we have many different initiatives going on, and I know the council is aware of all of them, but I think we need to put them in some type of perspective so that the council gives its blessing and that there are no surprises, so to speak.
Okay, this is good. This is good, and I didn't ask him to say this, but it kind of leads into the next little thing we're going to do here. When we talk about sustainability, financial sustainability, we need to first of all start with some kind of common definition. And so Karen's handing out a paper to each of you. And I would like you to not put your name on the piece of paper. Don't put your name on the piece of paper. And I'd like you to think for a couple minutes after I tell you what to think about, and then write down your first thoughts about and here it is, what you think of when you think of financial sustainability in Maplewood. What does sustainability mean to you? Any thoughts, words, they don't have to make much sense, but just your ideas right off the top of your head. This is what we call in marketing a top of mind exercise. So, okay, what does sustainability mean to you? And then I'm going to collect those papers, and someone else will read out the answer. So you don't have to be embarrassed if you are about to give up. You know? Sustainability, financial sustainability. When you're finished, just turn your paper over and I'll come around and pick all of them up. You don't have to fold them. But you did a good job of folding.
Before you said.
Not that anybody would know that Al's the only one who folded it. So. Here we go. Anybody else? So, a couple more. Good. Take your time. No problem. Oh, that's all right.
Somebody's got to hold it.
Yeah, the two attorneys. It's like the secret ballot. Okay, I have everybody's. Okay, I'm going to pass these around and don't take your own unless you want to fake everybody out. Okay, take one, pass it around. I'll put one on Karen's. Okay. And then we'll start with Chuck, I took yours off. Take one, pass around.
Michael, you're not supposed to be
Look at
selecting.
I know that reading, Dewey. What's that? I can't read your writing. What?
Take one that's not yours.
Okay. Does everybody have one? Let's just, okay, Marv, you get to be first.
Equalizing of expenditures and revenues.
Equalizing of expenditures and revenues. Okay? We're going to go through all of them, then we're going to see if there's some commonality, what the commonality is, and kind of come to some consensus here. Huh?
Do we get to guess at some point who did them?
Yes, that's a...
We'll bring in the handwriting expert.
Exactly. Chuck, what do you have in front of you?
Ability to pay the bills and keep moving forward at a set rate.
Ability
To pay the bills and keep moving forward at a set rate.
Had to be Gail. Not with you, Gail, on the pay the bills, pay the bills.
That's what I said. Her face is nuts. She's a good poker player.
Okay. Wow. What do you think? Do you think that's those two are pretty similar?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Karen, what do you have in front of you?
Ability to continue to provide essential services to the citizens and maintain the city's responsibility within the available budget every year.
Oh, wow. I'm going to put your name by this. meaning that's the one you read, okay? So when we gather these up for, consumption later, actually just put your names on them. I know they don't belong to you, but you're the ones who read them as well. Essential services to city, and what was the last part of that?
And maintain the city's responsibility within the available budget every year.
Okay. Great. Jim, what do you have?
Staying in budget.
Okay. Stay. How about you, Dewey?
Ability to maintain a consistent level of facilities and services without needing dramatic increases in taxes and fees.
Maintain facilities and what?
Services.
Services without
Major increases in taxes and fees.
taxes and fees. Okay. Wow. Is that different than the other ones? It's kind of throwing another little idea in there, isn't it? So, put your name on that, Dewey. Please, just so, because I don't want to skip over some words, we'll get that straight. Steve, what do you have there?
I have revenues exceeds cost, setting aside revenues for capital improvement. You know who's this one is.
Infrastructure mentioned?
Yeah, it does.
I can say that's not me.
Roads keep shining through.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Living within our means.
Okay.
And the departments working together.
Oh, interesting, okay. Wow. What do you think of that? That's another twist, isn't it? That's a new little kind of concept here. Departments working together. I think that's an idea. It's an interesting idea, isn't it? That how can you achieve sustainability? Maybe, ends and definitions and processes, but it's a very interesting idea. How about you, Gail?
Ensuring long-term future of great services for citizens.
Ensuring long-term, what?
Future of great services for citizens.
Future services for, so that's the kind of the end of sustainability, and that's what you hope to achieve, right, by sustainability. Because without being, with your financial if it's not sustainable, then the assumption with this is that you can't provide great services. Is that right? Is that the assumption? You could maybe draw that inference anyway. Okay. Will, what'd you have?
Retention of quality, efficient services with limited resources, good bond rating, retain reasonable control of financial resources.
Say a good bond rating, what was that last part?
Retain reasonable control of financial resources.
Okay. All right, who else? Let's see. Michael.
And consistent funding for overall basic needs, matching funding to needs.
Consistent funding for overall needs, and then what was the last part?
The matching funding to needs.
Matching funding to needs. So that would be, assuming that you have the sustainability, you would have the ability to match the funding to the needs. Does that make sense? if you have a sustainable financial environment, right, then you have the ability to match the needs with funding, okay? All right, so that's an implication. Sometimes, we have to go, who didn't I ask? Kathy.
Budget decisions that have revenue impacts that support the decision.
Budgeting decisions?
Budget decisions
Uh-huh.
that have revenue impacts that support the decision. That might be deals, actually. We have many attorneys who do that.
Wow.
You're gonna get a minute.
Anybody else? John and Chuck, I'm sorry.
Determining the correct balance of funding and services to continue well into the future the quality of life we have in Maplewood.
No. The correct balance of funds and services.
Funding and services
Funding and services.
to continue quality of life into the future.
Chuck?
Living within budget financials and also common ground moving forward, as in buy-in.
Say that again, living within.
Living within budget financials
Mm-hmm.
and common ground moving forward. Moving forward, buy-in.
What are the themes here?
Don't spend more than you have.
Okay. Living within our means, right?
But, well, it's much more than that. It's also, to me, prioritizing what it is that we feel we need to provide, and then determining how we can fund that.
Do we have prioritizing up here someplace?
We've got one more environmental moves left.
Yeah,
Oh.
two more over.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
jeez. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hands. I was all ready to launch here.
Try to
Dave.
keep mine warm. It's hard to read with the fold in the paper, but.
Oh, I'm glad I have a whole piece of paper, we know. Someone who has a JD wrote that, huh?
Spend within means, borrow within abilities.
Ah,
There's a good Democrat.
I don't know, Chuck tried to hold his.
borrow within what?
Spend within means, borrow within abilities.
Okay, good. And was there one more?
Efficiency, sharing of services, and partnering.
Okay,
I've got one more, Barb.
okay, great.
My author said, ability to provide services in the long run with minimal parenthetical or proportional, close parens, impact to the citizen.
The what?
So, would you read that again, Alan? The ability to what?
Sounds to me like, well, the ability to provide services in the long run with minimal impact to the citizens, or at least a proportional impact. So it sounds like make your taxes equal what you're providing for the state.
With the minimal impact to
Citizens.
citizens.
Based on the services provided.
That's good, because I was kind of looking for something, I don't know if we had it up here before, but this concept of time. Time. Sustainability isn't just 1 year, is it? Right? So in the long run, so we got that. That was worth waiting for that last one. Jeez. Okay, anybody else? Everybody else? So we have a lot of things, spend, borrow, spend within means. Is there anything that seems just kind of out of kilter here? Just kind of doesn't seem quite, staying within budget, equal of expenses to revenue, ability to pay bills and move forward, so there's a time thing there. Okay, pay bills. Continue to provide essential services. So there's this whole tying back into what we do as a city. We right? We provide services, so that has to have some connection to, so we can't just stop just to balance the budget. We gotta think about what is it that we do. We provide certain kinds of services. Staying within the budget, and then Will said, what, we gotta prioritize, right? Okay, staying within a budget, maintaining facilities and services again, once again, without raising taxes or within our taxes and fee structure, okay? Being able to do that. So that's the concept someone talked about in terms of balance, right? That was mentioned. Balance. We have to, we're sort of a balancing act. Does this mean that we can't, I like this, someone introduced the concept of reasonableness, but balance is here. Does that mean that we can't borrow money? We can borrow money, can't we? And still have be financially sustainable, right?
That's what a decent bond rating helps.
It's a fund, right? Okay. So